monster.
I'm your number one fan.
Now clear your minds. Notice what scares you. It has from the very beginning.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
It's been informed that zombies have entered the building. They're at the door. They're coming in.
Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Frosty. Alongside me, as always, is Corey Pete.
What's going on, dude?
And last and certainly not least, Tony Arroyo. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, homies?
So, we are back. We are the second week into our Summer of Slashers series. Emphasis on this.
Yeah.
Sounds like I have a leaky tire. So yeah, these next 3 months, June, July, August, we are. It's all about the slashers. So yeah, we have an interesting one to cover today. It's kind of a newer one, 2015. Kind of underrated. The reviews on the movie aren't great, but we watched it and we thought it was actually not bad. It had this enjoyable moment, so we will be covering 2015's Most Likely to Die today. So, pretty excited about that. But before we jump into that, fellas, how have you been? How's life?
Life's good, brother. Life's good, man.
Any new new pickups? Any new hauls?
Nothing new lately. On my end, nothing new.
One thing I picked up is in the past couple of weeks, really, is the DVD of a movie called Winter Beast, which is so much fun. It's a movie that I was telling you guys a little bit about before we recorded previously, but it's another one of those. This fucking movie's wild. Like, there's so much insane stuff going on, and I've been in a mood, like I've been wanting to watch a lot of movies with stop motion creature effects, and this one had some pretty cool stop motion stuff going on. I mean, it's really bad stop motion, but it's charming because it's so bad, and that's what kind of gravitates me to it. So I've been in a mood lately where I've been wanting to watch movies that actually have stop motion effects in them. So pick that up. I know that DVD was out of print for the longest time, but Vinegar Syndrome put out a box set with Winter Beast being one of the movies included in that box set, so the price on the DVD kind of went down. So I was able to pick it up, and that's the only thing I've had come in the last couple of weeks, man. It's been kind of slow as far as pickups are concerned, but who knows? I know our local guy Eric's going to have a sale coming up this weekend. Yeah, this weekend on Saturday, so might hit that up, see what he's got going on.
Yeah, any local listeners, if you haven't already, go check out our buddy Eric at Scratch and Spin. Great local business, tons of stuff in there. You know, CDs, games, vinyl, movies, lots and lots of movies. That's where we get a lot of our obscure stuff too. You definitely go in there for quality, because you know he's got stuff in there that you can't find, you don't usually find in the wild. You know, good stuff. You know, you can even go in there and find Arrow stuff and Scream Factory stuff. You know, stuff you don't usually see up in the wild. But you know, he's doing a sale this weekend. All used stuff's 50% off. He only has a sale like that maybe 2-3 times a year at best. And so it's definitely worth checking out. Also, I want to give a shout out to Eric and congratulate him on a successful showing, a premiere of Quiet Place 2.
That's right.
Yeah, so he had a big turnout for that. A lot of supporters of the business and just horror in general went out, and were able to get tickets through Scratch and Spin and go early to see the movie. So that was pretty wild. That is something that you'd like to see us try to do, and maybe, you know, review some new movies, or maybe even do like a live show on the night of the premieres. Let us know, and you know, that's something we can work towards doing. So that would be cool. But Man, I picked up all kind of cool stuff this past weekend. From comedies to action. I found a special edition DVD set of The Abyss, which was kind of like my main find. And Brian had it. And I don't know how long he's had it. And I was like, "How long have you had this?" He's like, "I'm surprised you haven't picked it up already." So I definitely snagged that. He also had Howard the Duck, which we've been joking about the past couple times I went there, and I was like, I got to pick it up. It's Howard the Duck. Not necessarily a great movie, but it's just one of those movies you got to have. The Blu-ray copy of Airplane. I picked up kind of underrated slasher. We might even visit this one. If we don't, I'll definitely be watching it for our roulette episode. It's called Behind the Mask.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it's what's called The Rise of
Leslie Vernon.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And
I like Scott
Brian
Wilson in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Brian recommended it, and so I'm pretty excited to check that one out. I got the original Last House on the Left, the original Rosemary's Baby.
Masterpiece.
I did pick up a movie called Fury, which basically looks like Vietnamese version of Taken. Like it's this Vietnamese woman who's like she's like a crime boss or something. Her daughter gets taken, so then she like grabs a machete and goes around just fucking everyone up. So it looks pretty cool.
That's not the Fury I was thinking. I was thinking of the other.
Yeah.
Well,
There's this one's spelled IE.
Okay.
And the one you're thinking of is probably the one with Brad Pitt and Shia LaBeouf. They were like the tank division in World War II.
There was another one that came out in the 70s that I was kind of thinking about too. I was like, damn, pick that up. I was like, wow, that's a hell of a find if you found that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think I may be talking about.
Yeah. I think it's a De Palma film.
Okay.
Yeah.
I picked up History of Violence. Some Cronenberg action there.
Cronenberg.
I finally got it.
That's actually a little trivia here. That's actually the last movie that was given a VHS release.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. Book of knowledge over there, Tony.
Telling you, man. He's all right, this kid.
I know some.
I finally picked up the Blu-ray of Killer Clowns from Outer Space that Brian had.
Yes, dude, yes. I can't wait for you to check that out.
Oh, I've watched it, but like I've picked it up and I've looked at it and I was like, I need to get this, but I'll wait. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna pick it up. I got Battle Royale 2. I thought it was the first one. It was like.
Oh no! Wait a minute. They made a sequel to that.
They did.
They did.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I picked it up thinking it was the first one. Because like the way the front looks, like it's kind of hard to tell it's the sequel, but it's like this real nice special edition. And I was like, oh hell yeah! And he was like, well, I gotta warn you, this is the second one. It's good, but not as good as the first one. I was like, well, damn, I'll just go ahead and pick it up, get the first one later. Picked up Eight-Legged Freaks.
I haven't seen that in so long, man.
And it's glorious snapper case.
Yeah. Corey.
And then to close things out, I bought a couple random ones. Like I bought Braveheart because I used to own a copy. Someone bought it for me. I gotta have it for the collection. Shawshank Redemption, which I don't know why I ended up getting the DVD. I think because it was $1. But like you can get the Blu-ray at Walmart for like $6. And the front cover looks like a Scream Factory cover. Like it looks amazing. But it's definitely not. I bought some random martial arts movie called The Kumite, which is probably terrible, but whatever. And then The Corruptor with Cheyenne Fat and Mark Wahlberg.
Nice.
Never seen it, but yeah, I went buck wild. Picked up a lot of good ones. So
got some good quality in there, man. There's a lot
it
of
was a good mix up. Good mixture of movies. I really. When I go movie hunting, sometimes I don't just necessarily go for horror movies because there's, I always see a lot of movies I gotta have for the collection that I just pick up.
Oh yeah.
So, which just become a problem because now I like my movie collection is kind of split in two, where I got horror and martial arts on this side and then everything else over here. And so now I'm like just trying to piece it in, you know what I mean? Just fill in the gaps.
Well, that's another thing I noticed, dude, that you were doing up your collection and like moving it to shelves and everything like that. And that's always fun. I always enjoy that process of rearranging it and getting it all organized. And
right. The only problem is I need more, you know, and that's just gonna cost money.
So the empty spaces you want, Phil.
Exactly. Like I'm looking at it, I'm like, I need more. Feed me more.
Yeah.
Nice.
But ladies and gentlemen, this is the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We appreciate you tuning in on YouTube, which you can like, share, subscribe there. Tell your friends to subscribe. We'd appreciate that. And also, we are, if you want the audio version, we are, of course, on just about everything. I would say iTunes, but apparently it's not called iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcast, which is lame. Apparently boomers call it iTunes now. So Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, we are there. So I know we've picked up a couple new listeners. So shout out to you guys and gals.
Thank you.
Who started listening. You rock. We appreciate that. You're the reason why we do what we do. So, but if you want to follow us on the socials, we do have a Facebook group. Just go to facebook.com, type in the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. It's a closed group. Ask nicely. We'll let you in. And we are also on Twitter at Monster_Corner, TikTok at Midnight Monster 20. And we do have an email, of course, midnightmonstercorner@gmail.com if you want to email the show. So,
any concerns, hit us up on the email. Let us know what you're thinking. We will be there to answer.
Right. Any complaints? Corey will. Corey will handle all that. No pressure.
He's the complaint department.
He just looks like it with his glasses on.
Yeah, with his glasses on. He's files of paperwork over there.
He's like, filing complaints, are we? So, yeah, with that being said, let's jump into our review. As we said at the beginning of the show, we are doing 2015's Most Likely to Die. Now, this movie was a bit of a random pick for us. It's very underrated. I didn't really remember hearing a lot of buzz about it. It's a bit of a more low budget movie, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the movie takes place on one location, a house, the whole movie. Some coastal property in California, which I thought was pretty funny. I was going to text you whenever that they had mentioned that it was a coastal property. I was like, this is a coastal horror.
Yeah, man.
That's the thing. But so the movie takes place. It's been 10 years since graduation, and these group of friends are meeting up for a reunion. I was about to say review. They're meeting up for a reunion at this house, and they get there, and it all pretty much goes to shit. They start disappearing one by one and dying. And this kind of happens after they find the body of their friend Ashley, who's been at the house. And they're like, well, where is she? They thought she was just off, doing the business with her boyfriend, Ray, who I can't remember whose property it actually is.
Yeah, it's Ray's.
Is it Ray's house? Okay, that kind of makes sense, being a hockey player. So, but they get invited there for the reunion, and Ray and Ashley are both missing. So they actually go looking for them, and they find Ashley's body in this little shack off the road, kind of off the beaten path in the woods. If you'd want to consider it the woods, but so yeah, the movie kind of starts from there. Now, what are your guys' thoughts on like the characters themselves? Like, are they likable characters? Or are they diverse enough? I mean, do they because I kind of had mixed feelings at first with the characters, you know, like 'cause some of them kind of got on my nerves, but then like the more the movie progressed, I was like, you know, I can kind of dig it. Like I've watched movies before where the characters just drove me nuts, you know, like they all were just like you had the obligatory bitch, you had to complain about everything. Then you'd have you'd have the guy that's like, I always describe him as the wheelchair guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the dude Franklin. Yeah. Well, who was the guy from Friday the 13th 4?
Oh, I think you're thinking about Shelley.
Shelley.
Yeah, from part 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Well,
Shelley
you had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy, but you also have Shelley.
Mm-hmm.
Like those characters that you're like, God, I can't believe this guy dies. And that's awful, but you know, they kind of set it up that way. This movie, like the characters were a little bit more tamer, I think. You know, a little bit more believable. A couple of them had their quirks, but
yeah, there's definitely the stereotypes too. Like you're gonna have those when you're talking about a slasher film, you're gonna have your stereotypes. Like that's
right.
Just, it goes without saying. There's definitely you definitely get that in this. With the jock character, of course, and the jokester guy, the bitchy girl, but like I said, she was kind of. It was a little bit, like you said, a little bit more tame with that because she wasn't really too. And I'm thinking about the one that was the more go-getter. I can't remember her name. I think Simone. Her name was Simone,
the class president.
Yeah, she was like she was stuck up, but she was very like driven. Like she was very focused on what she wanted to do and stuff like that. And of course, that could come off as bitchy to some. And but me, it just seemed like
I took her as very snooty.
Yeah, snooty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get your you definitely get your stereotypes, which like it happens, but like I said, right away to me, the characters, there was a lot of exposition that just got dumped on us at one time. Like when they were all getting together at the table and they were talking, like you figured out everything about their lives from just that 5-minute scene of them at the table together.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, damn, dude, like you're getting like their backstories, their information, like all of it from them just talking and reminiscing. Because a lot of them they haven't seen each other in a long time, so they were just talking back, reminiscing about the days of high school and what they were doing and stuff like that. The shenanigans, as it were, get into
throwing a little shade at each other too.
Yeah, shade at each other, giving each other a little hell, and you learn that our main character Gabby. You learn that she was in a relationship at one time with the Brad character, who the Brad character is now this big shot Hollywood television actor. And he's everybody gives him shit like, oh, his big time coming, and here's Hollywood, he's gracing us with his presence, and there's a lot of animosity between her and him.
Yeah.
Like,
so there's history there, and you find out it's pretty dark, and we'll get into that later. Like it's pretty dark history between the two, so you can kind of understand why she's salty.
Well, I kind of figured that. Like it was almost like I was like writing the script as I was going along watching the film. To tell you the truth, there's a lot of stuff I picked up on.
They give you ESPN.
That's it. But no, I picked up on a lot of stuff like the animosity between the two. I was like, I bet you this probably happened. And then sure as shit, it came out in the story, and I was like, but there you go.
Yeah.
So, but I did pick up on a lot of stuff.
I will say Gabby has a really cool backstory though. Like, she's a professional poker player, and went on like a poker tour, like a World Series poker. She finished like 18th out of like 6,000 people. It's like, man, that's
she doesn't know how to bluff.
She doesn't know how to bluff. But it's like, which is maybe she's just lucky, because I don't know how you place that high and not know how to bluff in a poker tournament. But.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, yeah, it'd be really hard to place like top anything in poker if you can't bluff. That's gonna be really hard to do.
But like, I don't know. To me, that was just such an original, cool backstory. You know what I mean?
I thought so too. That was really original. You don't get that a lot at all.
Like, if anything, you think that like she got a job at some law firm, or she was like in banking. It's like, no, she's a poker player, a professional poker player. I'm like, holy shit, that's cool.
I thought that was pretty unique.
Not to try to like automatically like put a generalization on a female protagonist, but you don't see some of that often. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It would be kind of like if you had a female protagonist and her background was like Navy SEALs or something. You'd be like, holy shit, that's freaking cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what this movie was lacking? I will say it. There needed to be a Randy.
Randy. Erica, there it is.
I thought DJ was our Randy. I really did. He didn't deliver. Or did he?
No.
But starting out right away, guys, I don't know if you felt this, but especially the opening shot, the whole sequence with Ashley when she's in the house and she's trying to find her boyfriend, she's walking around, she's being kind of like stalked. This movie gives me a real feel of like the late 90s, early 2000s slasher films that came out. Yep. Like Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, stuff like that. It really felt like that when the film opened up.
It's a floating heads horror.
Yeah.
That's like,
well, you see it even on the case.
It's post floating heads era.
Yeah.
It came out like way after, because
you can definitely see where the inspirations came from.
Thinking so, because I did a little digging and I found out the director he's a horror director, so he's done horror before, and they wanted, when they were doing the production of this movie, they said they wanted a horror guy, like a guy that directed horror movies. So the guy jumped at the chance because he's like, I haven't done a slasher film yet, I want to do one. So I wonder if it was a stylistic choice for him to do that. I'm guessing so, being that he is a horror fan. But it just, to me, the style early on, it felt so early 2000s, man, like Urban Legend and movies like that, like Valentine, stuff like that. It really gave me that feel. Another one, Cherry Falls, another great. I think that one came in 99 though. But you get my drift, like right between like Scream and stuff like the early 2000s. Yeah. That's what it gave me. Like right away, I felt like,
totally.
Damn, this could have been plucked right from that era.
Yeah. Fun fact: the director, Anthony DiBlasi, actually was the producer of the Midnight Meat Train.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Saw that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that's Clive Barker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Clive Barker. He had an extensive history in horror. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. He's directed a couple other things, and
you could tell it shows.
Yeah, you could tell. Like this was a movie shot by someone who's a fan of the genre. You can definitely tell.
Yeah.
It's very well shot.
Oh yeah, it really is.
It's very well shot. There was a couple things in the movie I remember even stopping and saying, "Well, that was pretty cool," One thing that I really like, this movie really, the characters act like I feel like normal people would. Maybe with the exception of the supermodel who's like just pissed and she's like, I'm going out there, you can come with me, or if you don't, screw you kind of deal. Because I'm thinking, I don't know, in that situation, in real life she might be more inclined to be a little bit more timid and want to be by like the group than just run off by herself. You know what I mean?
I think she would be a little more petrified than anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Which led me to wonder if she was the killer. I thought maybe she would have been the killer in that sequence where she wanted to run off and go check a pulse.
I mean, that would have been an interesting twist.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so, yeah.
But
they really want you to believe that Jake Busey's the killer, though. He's the red herring, and right off the rip, like it's very, very. Yeah. We were kind of talking about that. Like it seems like they're really pushing the hey, this is the guy, because he says ominous things to the characters when they leave, and he's just he's constantly lurking around. You're like, okay, obviously this guy isn't it.
Yeah, they want you to believe it, but they also, at the same time, they threw that curveball because he didn't last too long in the film.
No, he did
He
not.
got killed off pretty fast.
He
I
got
think he was
killed.
the second person to get killed. Actually,
It was, yeah.
I was really hoping he'd have a bigger part in the movies. I love Jake Busey.
Yeah, he's
Like,
great. So
God,
scum-
like
So scummy in this movie,
so
man. Like,
scummy. Yeah, I was hoping for like a character development, kind of like in Frighteners, you know.
yeah,
Got me a score of 12, you know. I was waiting for it, but then he dies. I was like, well, shit.
You know what I found myself wondering after he was dead? Because you see him being strangled. You see him drop his beer bottle. And then next thing you know, it shows him laying on the ground. It goes back to the girl in the room, and then back to the rock where he was laying on the ground. He was gone, and I was like, where did this fucking beer bottle go? That's what I found myself wondering. I was like, where did this beer bottle go?
the killer was very tight. He had to clean up the mess.
Yeah,
Apparently.
he's also very, very parched.
Yeah.
He
Maybe.
happens to drink Michelob.
So that's-
But yeah, the ominous comments though, that was so red herring. It was so funny
Yeah.
too, because he's like, all right, I'll see you later, real soon.
Yes.
It like zooms in on his face, you know. I'm like, come on, he's not the killer. I mean, we know he's just a weird gardener. Fucking Tarkin is his name.
yeah, Tarkin.
Tarkin. That's
I
so
hope that's his-
cool.
I hope that's his last name. Otherwise, he's like fucking caveman.
I like his backstory too.
Yeah.
Even he has a
back-
backstory.
Yeah, his backstory was that he was he used to own a liquor store, but it went belly up. But he used to give like all those kids when they were teenagers, he used to give them alcohol,
Yeah,
which
he's good.
turned one of them into a raging alcoholic.
Alcoholic.
Yeah, and it costed him big time. Apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone in this movie has a backstory. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of character. There's a lot of character, but like backstory wise, there's character
The
development.
only one that was most expendable who doesn't really have a backstory is Bella, the supermodel.
Yeah.
You know,
even she had a backstory. She had like been a model since she was real young, like 15 or something. And
Well,
that's all she's known is modeling her whole life, pretty much.
And there's even that one part where she looks at there's pictures on the wall on everybody from the yearbook, and that's where the most likely to comes from. It's like most likely to succeed or most likely to do this and that. Like it's the high school. Kind of, like,
They were all really obscure though, too.
Yeah. So
Most
she
likely
looked
to
at-
eat anything.
Well, she looked at it and she was confused. She's like, well, what are these about? And the guy, he's not really her boyfriend. He's just like, I don't know. I don't know what they were. Like if they were an item or
A fling is what he called it.
yeah.
I guess. Okay. So
Bang buddies.
he's explaining to her, or he's explaining to the group that she never went to a public school. Like she went to a private school, so she has no idea what these are. That's why she's asking, because they kind of looked at her like, really? You're asking us what these are? Like, I think that's pretty common knowledge what they are. But apparently she did not have that. She did not have that growing up. So you
Yeah.
learn a little tiny bit about her character,
Yeah.
just from like little compository shots and scenes like that. Of just compository dialogue, really. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting though, because she's like the least fleshed out character out of just about everybody. Everybody's character is pretty much fleshed out throughout the entirety of the movie.
hmm But I do love when they got into like the argument, like upstairs or whatever, and she wanted to go off and check the pulse, and everyone else was like, "No, we need to barricade ourselves in. We need to be safe." And she was like, "We need to go check to even see if she's even alive because this is a prank." That was the funny thing. I really like that concept because my mind was going there, was like almost kind of like I'm getting kind of an April Fool's feel here. Like, was this all
yeah.
a prank? You know? So
Yeah.
when she went to go down and she was like, "Are you coming?" I think she was asking Brad if he would go with her or whatever. I think that was his name. But he was like, "No, I'm not." And she was like, "Did you even care about me?" And he was like, "No,
No.
not really." It's like so heartless.
Yeah. I ain't going out there.
You go out there and die alone, bitch.
I kind of had I was kind of thinking prank too for a while there because of like they kept showing Ashley's body, sitting there. I was like half expecting her to like wake up at some point and it'd just be like makeup on her,
Mm-hmm.
Or something, you know. But no, it's pretty straightforward.
How about it? I got to be honest with you. I'm kind of glad they didn't go that route because I kind of hate that twist. I really,
Oh, yeah.
I just hate when they fake you out like that. Like when it's a big gag at the end of the. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that. Personally, I'm not.
Yeah. Did you ever
So
play?
I'm
This
kept it
is
straight.
this is kind of random, but did you ever play Until Dawn?
Oh yeah.
You played that
Yeah.
game?
Oh yeah, I love that game.
That was like the one exception where it was cool because it's like I faked you all out. You know, I was like, I'm
Yeah.
crazy because my sister died or whatever, so I'm getting you all back with this prank to scare you half to death, and then they all get attacked by Wendigos and really start.
That's what saved it for me was like middle of the game kind of thing. That wasn't like the third act. So it didn't end on that stinger. It was like it showed its hat early on, and I appreciated that because then we straight Wendigo stuff, and I was like, that's fucking cool.
Yeah,
that's really
exactly.
And I love how you can decide the fates on everybody. That's just based on the actions that you choose.
It was fun going through the game because I got the trophy for everyone living, and then I got the trophy for everyone dying. Yeah, there were so many. Yeah, there's so many different ways to play the game, but yeah, that was It is. But yeah, I mean, going back to the movie, you know, like I'm with you. I'm glad they didn't go that route with the prank stuff. Also considering like the beginning of the movie, it's like, what did y'all just act all that out for us? You know, like that wouldn't have made any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was interesting too how the movie kind of kicks off before anyone else really dies. The movie kicks off with them finding Ashley's body first, which I thought was interesting. Because I expected like someone to bite the bullet first, and then them be like, "Well, you know, where's so and so?" And then as they're searching for that person, they come across Ashley's body. But no, it was like right off the bat, you know, they're like, "Well, Ashley should be here. I don't know where she's at," and they go looking for her and they find her. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, or they kind of just stumble upon her because I guess they just really stumbled upon her body when they did find it.
Well, true.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, it was just they were walking around and they went into because it's such a weird little shack in the middle of nowhere, or weird little. It's like a tool shed kind of shack kind of thing. It's big, like it's not like a typical tool shed would be. It's pretty big, but I just thought it was random just where it was. It was kind of away from the
It's
house.
so random. Kind of makes you wonder if that building was just there on location. And they're like, "Hey, we could use this building."
We
like,
use this movie, yeah.
What's this building just doing here in the middle of the road, like randomly?
Well, I think it housed the generator because at one point the power gets cut off at the house. They were like, cut the generator back on. We need power. It's like, oh, that was powering the house.
I just think it was funny where it was located. I thought that was
like 300 yards away.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was miles away. It seemed like it took them forever to get there.
It did. I also missed it where, you know, they kept wondering where Lamont was.
Yeah.
And he was like running. Like every time you see him, he's pouring sweat and he's running. I'm like, where the hell are you?
Yeah.
Well, he drove down the road and broke down because all the fuel lines had been cut on their cars.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, I broke down like 10 miles away. He had to run. He runs all the way back to the house just to die.
Yeah. No, he died.
Which isn't really logical. If your fuel line's cut, you're not going to make it 10 miles.
No, I don't think you're making it that far.
No.
But who knows?
Every time they showed him, though, it was almost like he was seeing something. I don't know. I guess he felt like somebody was watching him the whole time, which wouldn't make sense because Killer's not going to be at the house and 10 miles away with Lamont.
Mm-hmm.
But unless, and you know, this kind of dipping our toes in the spoiler territory, the second killer, you know, at the end of the movie, you know, maybe that was what was stalking Lamont in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of keeping his distance. We would assume would be what John Doherty was his name.
Yeah.
Kid they tortured or whatever, and
right.
His life went to shit because of a prank.
Because of a prank that they pulled. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
I kind of
where have we seen that before?
Oh, we've seen that. We've seen that before. That's quite a trope in and of itself.
I had a
Yes.
feeling there was a second killer. When what was her name? Gabby? Was that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. When she like went to go lock herself in like that underwalk of the house or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? There was like two barred doors. She
Yeah.
locked herself in on one side, but she went to go run to the other side, and there was a padlock on that side, so she caged herself in for the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Killer was in there, and chick out of nowhere just shows up with a gun, blasts
Yeah.
at the killer. Killer hauls ass, and the next thing you know, boom, he's right behind the chick.
Yeah,
I was like,
very hard for one person.
you know, I
to
mean,
do
I know it's a trope for slasher films that boom, their killer's right there,
right
and
there.
you've ran like 20 miles, you know, but not on this one.
Yeah.
I was like, there has to be a second killer, maybe. So I
Mm.
I already had that in my mind that was what was happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of drama and tension in this movie between the characters too. They're like, you could tell it's been some time since they've seen each other. Like, all the stuff was getting put out in the open, and everything was coming out. You know, the feelings that were harbored for each other when they were kids came out, and there was a lot of that going on. I was like, holy shit! It felt like a TV movie almost, with all that stuff going on. Like a lot of character development and stuff like that going on. Very good acting. The acting was very solid. Which you don't, like I said, you don't always get that in slasher films. Let's be honest. In this one, it was really good.
I will say it kind of lacked one-liners. Like, I was expecting better one-liners in the movie. There was a reference to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I thought was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he delivered it wasn't really that funny. You know, he was just kind of like, "Oh, we're getting Texas Chainsaw Massacred," or whatever he said. When Freddy, he was freaking out or whatever. And I was like, okay, reference. gotta have a slasher reference in a slasher.
Yeah, especially if it's a guy directing the film that's a fan. Like, he's gonna find a couple ways to get a line in there.
Mm-hmm.
He was my least favorite character, though, man. He did so many things that annoyed the shit out of me. I think it was just bad casting.
I liked his screaming. I loved it. I loved it when he found Ashley. That was priceless.
Yeah,
he had his camera.
She was like, she was like, "Don't go in there. Ashley's in there," and he's like, "Oh, Ashley's in there," and he
takes a camera in there.
Yeah,
it was okay at first, but then like later on throughout the film, it was just getting grating to me. His whole demeanor and everything he was doing, it was like, oh my god.
Yeah, old Freddie Shelley.
I couldn't take it. Yeah, it goes back to Shelley too. I couldn't same thing, a little different, but same kind of situation.
Right.
Just the sense he was making as a character and stuff like that just drove me nuts.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention, like, he every time shit hit the fan, he's gone.
Oh yeah,
disappear. And that was another little red herring that it kind of did, especially right at the end when she's like, "Where were you?" And he was like, "I heard gunshots, so I ran," or whatever. And he was just very like, he had been drinking a little bit, so he was kind of feeling buzzed, getting a little drunk. And she's asking him all these questions, and the way he's answering them, you're kind of expecting, oh, he's in on it,
Yeah, that's what I thought for a hot second. I was like, oh shit, was he in on it? I mean, maybe not doing the killing, but maybe he knew about it or something. Like, he had prior knowledge of the events that were going on. But I was kind of thinking that too. I meant the way he was answering the questions, the way he kind of was coming off. I was like, oh shit, he might know a little bit more than he was letting on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Definitely.
I do have to ask you guys, what did you guys think of the look of the killer?
Oh, solid.
Probably my favorite part about the movie. I thought the killer was super cool.
Yeah, I love the graduation cap, that they incorporated blades into the graduation cap. That was nuts, dude.
And he'd swing his head and cut your throat. Like, that was kind of cool.
That was dope as hell.
And he like threw it like Kung Lao, fucking Mortal Kombat.
I really liked his mask. It was, I don't know if you noticed, but in the beginning he was montaging. He was using like a Mod Podge or whatever, and he was sticking pictures from the yearbook onto his mask. I thought that was really neat.
Very unique.
He looks like he was kind of trying to make a model of that picture that they put in the yearbook of most likely to die or whatever. With the picture with the scratches, you know, it looks like he was trying to kind of replicate that on the mask. It was kind of hard to see the mask because of like, you know, it was always kind of dark. He didn't really get a good look at the mask, I guess, until the very end.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, a cool, solid look at the killer. I really liked it.
I enjoyed the shit. It's probably one of my favorite parts of the movie as well. Is to look at the killer.
Yeah.
It's really well done. Very unique. You don't see that very often. Like you've seen a lot of looks in these slasher villains before, but that's kind of one I haven't seen before. So, like I said, as far as a unique quality, it's got it because you just don't see it.
Yeah.
So I dig it. I thought the mask was effectively creepy too, the way it was designed. Like I know we talked about that, which was cool because it was like it reminded me a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street when Freddy's making his glove in the beginning. Like it reminded me of that. Like I love when slasher movies do that. I dig it because another slasher movie I love is Billy Club, and even in that one, the killer was, you know, building his weapon and everything like that. I thought that shit. I love that shit, man. I dig it. So whenever I see that, I'm like, all right, you're starting off on a good foot. That's awesome.
Yeah, and there was times too where like there was a lot of little things they did which I thought were really cool that I feel like would be severely overlooked. You know, like the directing in the movie was solid.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you can say about this movie overall, the director knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And there was there was just a lot of. You mentioned the scene where they were in that little like crosswalk beside the house, where she was locked in between two gates, you know, and she went to the other gate, it's locked. She turns and he pulls the padlock off and he kind of taunts her with it, you know, which reminded me a lot of like Scream, you know, when he had like the cell phone or whatever. And so then he grabs that water jug and he starts pounding on the water jug as he's walking towards her. I don't know why. I really liked that scene. I thought it was really cool because he's like taunting her as he's walking towards her. You know?
Get a look out of it, like enjoying it.
Yeah. Right. And it just had that like, I don't know if he was trying to mimic like a drumline beat, you know?
That's what it seemed like.
Like
something you would hear at a like a football
pep
game
rally or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just so cool. Like I don't know, I enjoyed the hell out of that scene. I thought it was cool, and it was tense because you're like, what's she gonna do here? You know?
Like she's like she's trapped. Like she's not getting out. So what's gonna happen?
Right.
So your tension's building for sure. I could definitely relate because I felt the same way. I was like, oh shit. Like, are they going to kill her off now? Oh, wow, that would be kind of ballsy.
Yeah. Yes, it would have. But so then she's saved, Deus Ex Machina style.
I agree with you guys 100% with the direction. I think there's two shots in particular to me that are really, really effective and they really look great. And that's the scene with Simone, when she's that hallway shot. I love the hallway shot, man.
Oh yeah.
Where her character gets killed, but you hear the music playing, the graduation music playing, and then you get the shots of the hallway and she's kind of creeping, like she's kind of going up the hallway and you can kind of feel the tension building, like something's going to happen. And then he comes out and then just kills her. I love that scene. And then the scene, another one that really, really was effective for me, and I thought it was brilliant the way he did this, was the scene where Gabby has the gun and her friend is behind a mirror in the other room, but she sees the killer through the mirror, so she shoots at the killer thinking she's shooting him, but he's actually on the other side in the mirror. Yeah. And if you notice, there's a heart on the mirror. So she shoots through the heart and shoots her friend behind the mirror, and which makes, because her friend was most likely to break hearts. So that was pretty dope.
Oh wow!
And she
didn't
shot her
see
like
the
right
heart.
in the chest too.
Right in the heart. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that came full circle. Like I dug the shit out of that.
I love how
Which-
the killer came up right behind her, just
Mhm.
grabbed the gun nonchalantly and just walked away. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
That's what he was planning on. That's what he wanted to happen the whole time.
Yeah.
Because the thing with our killers is they want to have these people die based off what they're most likely to. So if it's break hearts, then that means that the chick's gonna get shot and it's gonna go through her heart and stuff. It's taking it quite literally with the
Yeah.
kills. The guy that was most likely to eat like anything or something like that, he gets a fucking like I think it was a hockey stick
The
shoved through his-
hockey stick, yeah.
yeah,
Broken
and
hockey stick. Yeah.
which was probably my favorite kill in the whole movie. That shit was
gnarly.
that that was
When he
gnarly.
cuts his throat, you can see the hockey stick in his
See the
throat. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And that comes down to good special effects as well. I got to give it to the special effects department on this movie. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Best kill of the movie was when that chick got kung loud.
Oh my god, yes.
So Bella gets it the worst, and he opens the door and he throws the hat. Because, well, right then you kind of figure DJ's the killer, right? The prankster, the movie, he's the killer. Quick spoiler before we hit the end, but she runs in. She's like, and it wasn't Gabby. It was Gabby's friend, Jade. Jade goes, "Where's DJ?" And she goes, "He's." And before she could turn, the killer busts in the door, throws the hat, like it sticks in like half her neck, and so she pulls out, but her neck's like open. A lot of neck kills in this movie.
A lot of neck mutilation.
Neck mutilation. I kind of wish that I don't know. I kind of wish that some of the kills were a little bit more diverse.
Diverse,
But,
right.
it was how they did them was effective. Like
Mm-hmm.
fucking swinging his head, cutting her neck with the hat. That was cool. And then throwing the hat and sticking it in her neck. So yeah, like she pulls out, and then he proceeds to slam her head on the table and pulls her head off.
Yeah.
What I liked about that is as she's getting her head ripped off of her body, she's like screaming, and it's getting to be a higher pitch and a higher pitch till there's nothing. We've
Glad you
seen
said
that.
Yeah.
I'm glad
seen
you
that.
said it. Yep.
Yeah.
They did.
Day of the
Glad
Dead.
Yep.
That's
That's
gotta
exactly
be.
what I thought of. And knowing that, it makes me think that was purposely done by the director. Like, I really believe that.
Well, simultaneously, while she's screaming, remember the hot water is on the stove, and the little pitcher's whistling.
Yeah.
So no
So it
one can
adds
hear
that
this going down in there.
Yeah, so it kind of adds the extra effect, if you will.
Mhm.
Yeah, that scene was really cool. So
That whole sequence was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
yeah,
'Cause you just don't expect it. Like the brutality of the killer. Like he got
Well, this is a killer that's walking around, fucking a couple people up with a fucking box cutter.
mhm.
You know,
Absolutely.
it seems like the more the kills go on, the more brutal it gets.
oh yeah,
I do want to take the time and talk about. I didn't get to mention in the when you first see Ashley getting killed off. I really loved how it was kind of a cat and mouse game.
Yeah, man. It just
That
it
was
reminded
so
me.
cool.
Of Scream. It reminded me of Scream.
Yeah,
That's my first thought. Went to Scream
Mhm.
when I saw all that going on.
I just really love that because he was like directing her where to go, and then, boom,
yeah.
the inevitable happens.
Or the-
But yeah,
Yeah.
as far as finding out who the killer was, I found out early on when they were sitting at the table, and they were all talking, and they were going through, and they were explaining the different pictures on the wall and what the most likely's meant. And when it came to DJ's was most likely to have the last laugh, and he was like, "Oh, that's because I was the class clown." No, motherfucker, that's because you're the serial killer.
So you picked up on it early.
Very early, yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I kind of, gave it a lower rating than what I did, or what I would have done.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that very? I mean, I hate to go back to Scream, but the original Scream was kind of like that. Like one of the killers was the jokester, the prankster.
Hmm.
The funny guy, like the guy you wouldn't have, you probably wouldn't have never thought.
Yeah.
Oh God, what was his name? He had Billy and
Stu.
Stu. Thank you. Shaggy. So yeah, I mean it's interesting. You definitely see a lot of influence from a lot of slasher films in this. As you would most slashers.
Hmm.
They kind of bounce off each other. You're gonna see influences from this movie might have influence from this movie and so on. But so you definitely see that a lot in this movie. And,
Trust me. Going down this rabbit hole that we're going to go down for the next couple months, like you're going to see it a lot. It's going to be very prevalent. So it's going to be cool.
Almost invented the word trope. But
that's what you love about it. Like it just, you love that kind of stuff. Like you love the slasher tropes, man. You love slasher. You love the tropes. Like the two go hand. And like you see it. There's more serious slasher films. There's more comedic slasher films. They kind of go into two different camps sometimes. And sometimes you're in the mood for a serious one, and sometimes you're in the mood for a jokey, like more comical one. So they give you two different flavors there.
Definitely.
But you're always gonna. I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So we near the end of the movie, kind of ending Act 3, and a lot of deep dark secrets start coming out about some of the characters. They're kind of like, well, we're in this situation, probably going to die, might as well spill the beans, kind of deal. And we find out that Jade never left town because she apparently fell in love with a teacher. Freddie was actually breaking parole just to be at the reunion because he became an alcoholic and did some prison time for drinking and driving, killed his boyfriend. And that Gabby's was pretty dark because you find out that she's mad at Brad because you think that, she's being selfish because Brad left to pursue a career and all in Hollywood and she couldn't take it. No, they were together. She got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
He hauled ass because he couldn't take the idea of being a father so young, and she ended up having to have an abortion by her alone.
Well, he knew what he wanted as far as like an acting career, and I think he had mentioned that would have ruined his career, and I think later on he realized that it was selfish of him and everything, and it has ate at him like the entire time.
Yeah, you could definitely tell it was affecting him, and he was wanting to apologize and wanting to kind of close that chapter and tell her how he felt. Because not only that, to pour more salt in the wound, the dude took her virginity, she got knocked up, and he took off and let her deal with all that by herself. So that added even more fuel to the fire. And like you could tell, she hated this dude, like hated him, didn't even want to. Like, as soon as she found out he was going to be there, because she didn't know at first he was going to be there. That's why she was coming. But when she found out that he was going to be there, she wanted to haul ass. Like, she was like, I'm out. And her friend's like, no, you got to stay. You got to stay. It's too late now. It's coming now. You can't leave now. So she was wanting to go. Like, she did not want to face that problem head on. Like, I don't think she was ready for it.
No.
So she almost had to, like, force herself to do it. So there was a lot of resentment there. A lot of resentment.
Yeah. There was another reference. Cabin in the Woods was referenced.
Yeah, Cabin in the Woods was referenced too.
Which wasn't a slasher, but whatever.
It had a slasher killer in it.
Yeah, it was pretty. It's interesting. It's interesting. That's a hodgepodge of a horror movie, man. But for
I
good
was not expecting that horror movie. So, but yeah,
I think every horror movie should have Sigourney Weaver coming out and explaining what just occurred.
or Jamie Lee Curtis.
yeah,
Well, Jamie Lee Curtis isn't available, then you can use Johnny Knoxville because they look exactly alike now.
I saw that too. He is channeling his inner Jamie Lee Curtis, isn't he?
I swear, if they don't do a yogurt commercial with those two,
I was just about to say he would be a backup for an Activia commercial.
I was so mad. So,
He's the new Activia spokesman.
mhm, mhm. So, spoiler, DJ is the killer. We've mentioned that. And, there's the reveal at the end, and it's kind of got a cool little twist because she's wearing the little bracelet. This is #1 poker player or whatever. I guess her friend made.
I thought that was a little touch too. That was cool. Like
and,
that, because maybe she was thinking about really. I don't know, man. She struggled with it for a minute, but maybe she was just playing off really well. Like she really. I'm sure in deep down she wanted to slice that dude's throat, like because he's like, if you want to be involved, because that was his original plan, was to get Freddie and her involved, I guess too, because they were really close and they felt like the popular kids that they had become friends with in high school kind of drove them to do some of the nasty things that they did in high school, especially to their friend who was their friend in middle school, which he explains that he was peer pressured into doing what he did from Ray to basically set up and ruin this kid's life. I think they put a gun in his locker or something, and that's what kind of snowballed into him just falling apart and not really.
He got caught. He went to juvie. And he just lost everything.
Yeah,
he never really recovered.
Yeah, he had probably some mental issues afterwards, and
Probably.
he ended up taking his own life, supposedly.
Supposedly, TJ mentions that he jumps off the bridge or something. So, but we know from the ending that either there is a second killer, but there's a person that's going to take on the moniker of the killer, or the mantle of the killer, rather. Presumably, it is hinted, because they even showed the picture from the yearbook. It is hinted that it's John Doherty.
Doherty. Yeah.
Doherty, yeah.
Kid that was picked on, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I like they call the killer the graduate. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because he never graduated.
Yeah.
So fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
But so we assume it's him. Now either DJ lied about him jumping off the bridge, and hopes that his plan to go kill everyone else, that fucked their lives up in high school, would come to fruition, and then he'd say, "Oh, just kidding, he's alive," or he thinks he's dead and he lives, and he's been kind of following DJ around, but we would assume
interesting.
Yeah, we would assume that he's had some influence in DJ doing all this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would think so. That would be where I would go with it for sure, because it's just too much coincidence that I'm wearing the same exact costume, and
I believe he had the same exact mask too, didn't he?
Same exact mask, everything was the same.
Pretty sure they were working together.
To me,
he picks up the mask. He picks up the mask off of his body and puts it on.
I thought he had two. I thought there were two.
I thought there were two.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, he that's the thing. When DJ's revealed as the killer, finally, he comes in the room, he's already dressed up Ray as the killer. Because he wants to pin it on Ray. Like, oh, Ray lost his contract in hockey, and his girlfriend's been banging behind his back. He snapped finally. Which, by the way, that dude was freaking swole as hell.
Hell
Mhm.
yeah, jacked.
I was like, how in the hell did you knock this dude out? Like,
right.
I
Yeah,
saw him. He was really vulnerable, but
He was going to pin it all on Ray, wasn't he?
Yeah,
yes, he was.
that was the plan.
Ray was pissed. That's why he got the gun and emptied a clip in him.
Once again, reminds me of Scream. That whole situation reminded me of the exact same thing.
Oh, the killer comes back to life. Bang! Not my movie.
Which that was funny too, because Ray, when he got out, he grabbed the gun and shot him some more. So I'm like, okay, well that's like that. That's another nod to Scream,
Mhm.
because he was just making sure that he was dead. Because he was like, oh, he could come back, he could pop back up. Like she only shot him like 1 or 2 times. I think twice.
Twice.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, he can always pop back up. Like just
Which
to
always-
make damn sure he's dead.
Always found that funny. Like, why are you shooting him once, twice? Like, shoot him a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I was in that position. And, like, that dude.
Or pump some bullets.
This, this is a movie. You have unlimited rounds of ammunition in that gun.
Yeah,
Right.
use it. So what do you think, guys? You think they kind of, the way it ended, they definitely left it open to a sequel.
It
Well,
is.
that's funny because when I looked it up, like on IMDb and stuff, I'm pretty sure I seen like, if you like do a Google search on this film, it'll actually show up like a sequel to it, but you can't hardly find anything on it.
Hmm.
So I don't know if it was planned, like they were gonna make a sequel and then they just never did,
Yeah.
or what. It'd be
I
something
thought-
to look into.
The way it's
That's like-
ended, I mean, even DJ says, like, listen, we're going to go to the graduation. We're going to slaughter a whole bunch of people. Like, so there's the opportunity, because I think it's the following night, for our John Doherty to go to the graduation and start picking people off. So that would make sense for the premise of the sequel. And then for somehow get those 3 characters that survived involved in that somehow. I don't know. I'm sure they could, but yeah,
Yeah.
the sequel premise is there, and I just wonder why it's taken them so long to get the sequel off the ground, or because it seems to me like that was their intention, is to get a sequel made the way it ended.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if it has a big enough following for one. I'd love to see one.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
Uh,
obviously, due to letterbox reviews, there was a lot of hatred towards this film.
And not just Letterboxd. I mean, it's like got 4.0 on IMDb. You know, which is, I don't think, very warranted. I feel like this movie's better than that. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, at the very least, I can agree with maybe a 5.0, 5.5.
that's what. Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, but
Kinda
I
midway
can't
through.
see any. You know, like Letterboxd is giving it 1 to 2 stars, and I'm like, I've seen a lot of shitty movies that have gotten way better reviews. Like,
Yeah.
there's better reviews on movies like Ghoulies. You know. What was that
Well,
movie
it's-
we watched a while
as
back?
far
It's just absolute shit. I can't remember, but it got better reviews. You know, and it's not fair to this movie because I think there's movies. If you open your mind and you take time to sit down and watch it, there's a lot of really cool things about this movie.
Hmm.
It's not going to be like, you know, it's no You're Next, you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but it's good, you know, 3.5, 4 stars maybe, if if you're feeling froggy. Hell, 3.5. It's solid. Like,
that's solid. That's a good rating. That's a
Mhm.
solid.
yeah,
Well,
I
not
think
just that. If you also give it a rating, like for my rating, due to the storyline, and just the overall concept of the film, I actually find this to be a really fun concept. This is a really
Yeah.
cool concept.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a unique concept. I mean, in a lot of ways,
It really
It's-
is.
Yeah, there's tropes there, of course. There's
it's a bit
callback.
cliche at times.
Yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
cliche for sure, but the fact that you have a graduation going on, the killer is dressed as a graduate. He's got a unique weapon. 'Cause I've never seen anybody with a graduation cap with blades in it. I've never seen that in a slasher film before.
Mm-hmm.
So the weapon's unique. He also used the box cutter and stuff like that. That's not so unique, but still, he gets more kills done
And a
with
hockey
that-
stick.
and a hockey stick, but he
Yeah.
gets more kills done with that cap than anything. So like you said, you've seen this plot in better movies, of course, but it doesn't deter from the fact that there's a lot of style in this movie, man. There's some good shots in this movie. The acting's pretty solid. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no Meryl Streeps and Al Pacino's in here, but like still, it's pretty damn solid. Save for maybe one character who I didn't particularly like, but that's only because of their acting style and their acting ability. Which this person isn't even really an actor. He's a internet personality, or he's a blogger, a blogger. So he's not really known for his acting to begin with. And I think the only reason they got him in this movie was to like sell that kind of angle to the movie a little bit, from what I understand from the research I've done. But because the girl that played Bella is another internet personality, a blogger or something. So I think that was a choice made by the production team. I don't know if it necessarily was the director's idea. So they might have just forced his hand in that. But like I said, the acting overall though is pretty damn solid.
Yeah. I don't see a budget for this movie. I couldn't imagine it being very big budget, considering, I feel like this movie was like a challenge for the director to say, hey, I'm going to take a list of mid-tier B-range actors with a small budget, and I'm going to see what I can do with it. And I feel like, the director knew what he was doing. And I keep going back to that. I know I keep repeating that, but like you said, he's a fan of horror movies. It shows. I feel like he did a good job of what he had, and it's not like if you watch this movie, I don't feel like you would think it's a waste of time, because I certainly enjoyed it.
I had fun with it.
So if anything, you can have fun with it. Now, some people are picky, with
people are really picky when it comes to their slasher films. Like you have to hit those certain beats, because the slasher genre is like one of the most loved genres in horror, or subgenres, in horror. So people are very picky when it comes to slasher films. They want particular things happening for them to think that it's going to be a beloved slasher film. So if you don't hit those beats and stuff like that, then. And I think the director knew that. The director understood that, because being a fan of horror, he gets it. Like, I'm sure, because he was, from what I looked up, he was jumping at the chance to direct this movie because it was a slasher film, and he, at that point in his career, had not done that. So he was very gung-ho about, stepping in the director's chair and making this happen. So,
definitely.
But people can be very picky when it comes to slasher films, man. I'm guilty of it myself. I know. Like, I have to have certain things happen in a slasher film for me to be like, okay, that was awesome.
I can believe that too, because his love for horror shows. He's got a history in horror. It's not like who's that little producer that produced the Ghostbusters movie, the latest one. He was like interviews with him before the movie came out, and he's like, "We've got something really special." And the movie came out and it was absolute shit.
No, I'm not sure.
Oh, was it the director? I don't think it was the director.
I think it was the director. Because I remember he was kind of like hyping it up in interviews and stuff.
Yeah, which they always do. It's like James Cameron hyping up all the latest Terminator movies, even though I don't think he directed them. I think he just produced them. He was going on about how awesome they were going to be. No, he was the director, Paul Feig.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
Looks like John Ritter's little brother. He's just going on about the movie, and then it just came out and be absolute shit. But I don't see this director being like that, because he, like you said, he has a love for horror. So, but
you can tell.
But we're not championing this movie, to death. But it's a fun movie. If you have some free time, and you want to check out a neat slasher with some, some cool shots. I'd recommend it. So. Do we have anything else to add before we go to our reviews or ratings, rather?
I don't think so, man.
No.
Ready to jump to reviews or the ratings.
Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and go. I gave the movie a 3.5 stars. I did give it a 4. Thought about it, and I was like, well, I think 3.5 would be fair. I feel like some of the kills could have been a little bit more diverse.
For sure.
I feel like there could have been better, more memorable one-liners, which is something that, honestly, it's hard to find that in movies now, unless it's like indie films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, back in the day, 70s and 80s and all, like, especially in horror movies, you always got these really obscure, funny one-liners that are always, they're so memorable,
Mm-hmm.
And this movie was kind of lacking that, I felt like. But 3.5 stars, I'm giving it. I'm sticking to it. But don't let that deter you from seeing it. It's good. It's a
That's a solid.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's so solid. It's so solid that I had the exact same rating. Like I half is like that was it for me. I love things I love about. I love the setting that is set in one location. I dig that. I absolutely love that. I thought that was. I understand why they did it for budgetary reasons, but it actually worked in the movie's favor because I thought it just made it flow better. The shots in the house were really, really
Mm-hmm.
even the shots Corey were talking about with the I guess it was that little alleyway between the house and the garage. I think that's what it was with the gates. I think that was pretty unique locations shooting. The little, even the little tiny little garage tool shed thing. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's just I dig the fact that it was shot in one location. I agree with you, Daniel. The kills could have been a little bit more unique, or not unique, a little bit more diverse. There you go. Because there was just a lot of like slashing with the cool weapon.
That's playing it really safe.
Yeah.
There needed to be more stuff like the hat throw.
Mm-hmm.
Because he sliced her and then he pulls her head off. Like, that was freaking wicked. Like, I was looking for more stuff like that, And then the hockey stick, was kind of cool.
That was.
I think that
did that well was the throat slit. You can see the hockey stick.
Yeah.
Like
Most
that
That was pretty cool.
I will say, I think diversity kills. I really think of like Intruder.
Mm-hmm.
Intruder had just amazing diversity in his kills. One guy gets his head crushed by the little elevator. You have the guy gets the bandsaw, and the guy gets his skull cut like in half, literally. Yeah, like it's just amazing kills.
One of my favorite kills ever.
Yeah. It was gruesome.
But yeah, I gave it a 3.5 as well. I'm right there with you, man.
Well,
It's a solid rating.
I actually gave it a little bit higher. I gave it a 4-star. And it was just down to, such a great storyline. I enjoyed the storyline.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the banter between the characters. That was pretty fun. The backstory of all the characters, I thought it covered it really well. There really wasn't a whole lot that turned me off to this film. Like I said, figuring out who the killer was early on kind of did it for me a little bit on why it wouldn't have got a higher rating from me.
Kind of killed it for you.
One of the other deciding factors was the score. We didn't really cover the score of this film, but the whole time, like, some of these kills are happening and stuff, and I think at times, like, the killer actually plays like music that you would hear like from a high school band and stuff.
Or
I
graduation.
thought that was pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That
I
was
thought
cool.
that it was really cool that they incorporated that. One of the kills in particular, again in that hall was, he didn't actually get killed in there, but Brad, when the phone was at the end of the hall ringing just randomly, I thought that was pretty cool. But just overall, the way that the cat and mouse game was between the killer and the characters, and then overall I guess you would say like the 90s tropes. I definitely felt, like you said earlier, you feel like you're watching a 90s horror film, especially a 90s slasher film. So I enjoyed that.
Especially the beginning, man. The beginning, highly, like it really felt like you plucked this in particular sequence out of one of those films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She walks in the house and immediately puts on
She just
skimpy little.
it starts stripping down. I'm like, hey, whoa.
It's stuff like that that reminds me of that time period. Like it just harkens back to me with things like that going on, where you get these really pretty like actors and stuff like that, actresses and actors like doing stuff like that, and I don't know, I don't know how my brain just works that way. I just think of stuff like that. Like especially I watched Valentine not too long ago when, you know, Denise Richards, like of course they're trying to play off her sex appeal because she's a very attractive lady. So they played that off through the whole movie. She was like the what do you call it?
Eye candy.
Yeah, but there's like she was the seductress or whatever. Like she was the femme fatale, or I don't think I'm saying that right, but yeah, they played off her sex appeal highly in that movie.
I almost picked that one up too.
Yeah, it gives me that style, that feel. And right away, it just zoned me in on that. And I'm like, that's all I could think of. It's like, damn, this feels like it got plucked out of that time period.
Which I enjoyed those movies. I mean, I know they a lot of those movies might pale in comparison to, you know, the 80s slashers and all, obviously. But I really enjoyed that time period. And I really feel like it's because of Scream. You know, a lot of people are like, well, Scream started all that. And it's like, yeah, but it's fucking Wes Craven, dude. And Scream was made as a meta film. And they did it amazingly. And like, even though the first one's probably still the best, like, all the sequels are still really good. You know, now nowhere near as good as the first one. The first one's still like, you know, amazing. But you know, it's like you can't shit all over Scream because like it's not like it was directed by some Joe Schmo. It's Wes Craven. You know what I mean?
I always say it, that Kevin Williamson's script was awesome. Like he killed it with that script. Like saying that meta, like that is a meta movie, and that's meta as well as it can be done. Like he knew what he was doing. Like that it was rich brilliantly.
Which has me worried because the new one, they're saying they're dropping the meta. They're just going to make a straight slasher, and I don't know if that's a good idea. So that's just rumors. That's what I've heard. Now, whether or not they decide to change that, I don't know. But they're also calling it Scream. It's not Scream 5. It's Scream.
That seems to be the thing they're doing now, though, man. They do that now. That's the trope now.
Yeah, exactly. Which they're fucking up, because if they stick with meta, then that would fit perfectly in that.
Yeah, it would.
If they call it Scream, then they're just, you know what I mean? And but at the same time, you know, Part 4 was kind of the reboot meta, you know, where they rebooted Scream, so they were trying to like reenact the events from the first movie.
That's
in that one.
And I think it was really smart to do that, and that's why Scream 4 is like my second favorite in that franchise, dude. I love Scream 4.
Yeah, very good. And so then they announced that Scream 5 is coming, but they're going to call it Scream, and they are dropping the whole meta thing. So I don't know. Like, is Neve Campbell going to be in it? I don't know.
Just call it Stab. Just call it Stab.
Stab, yes.
Yes.
Scream 5, Stab.
That's it.
Like, you know, and I kind of don't want. I want like Neve Campbell and David Arquette and all them. I want them to be retired if they're going to move forward and drop the meta. I want them to retire those characters. Give us some characters that we're not so heavily invested in, because I don't want them to get to a point where like, oh well, now we have to kill off Dewey. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the debate now, is whether they're going to kill off Dewey in this one. Like that's the big debate among fans.
I would be so fucking pissed because you've come this far. You know, these characters have had a lot of close calls. You
A
know,
lot.
Dewey was all but paralyzed. Courtney Cox almost died in the fourth one. You know, like just leave it. Just leave them be. They've been through enough. Give us some characters we don't care about that can just get killed.
Yep.
If you're gonna make a straight slasher, then just do that. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
And how does that differentiate itself from the Scream franchise? Like, what are they going to do? It's got me really curious, man. I'm really wondering what they're going to do with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, not to go too far off on a rabbit trail about Scream, but it's relevant. Slasher month.
Slasher month, yeah. Sure.
Slasher months.
The
Plural.
next coming episodes.
Yep. So, if there's not anything else to add, we can land this plane.
Let's do it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. We appreciate you listening so very much. Once again, check us out on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. Let your friends know that we exist. If they're fans of movies or especially horror movies, tell them to check us out. We are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can listen to podcasts. We're there. Check us out. Be sure to leave us a review. Like, go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. That would be awesome. That would help push the show, get our name out there, and will help people discover that we're here and we are making content. We are looking in the future at possibly getting some better podcasting equipment, maybe getting a studio set up. Now that things have kind of calmed down with COVID and such, and we can actually sit down and do some recording in person. But also, we would like to put out more content. So give us some feedback on our group, or you can email us or hit us up on our socials and let us know, what you think about the show, what we need to do moving forward, to put out content for you guys. I would personally love to do movie commentaries. I know that's something we've talked about for a long time, and, maybe that's something that we can move forward to do for you guys, maybe through a Patreon or something. So, but that's, some goals that we're setting as a podcast, and of course we can't do it without you guys. You guys have been a big help. But join our Facebook group, follow us on Twitter, and all that jazz. But we are signing off, and we will see you guys next week.
Next week. Later.
Later, guys.